Roll for Crit is made possible thanks to the support of viewers like you and our patrons on our Patreon page.
You can become a patron for just $1 a month at patreon.com/rollforcrit.
It's a new year and you've waited long enough. It's time that we return to our Kickstarter Pickstarters in order to tell you what Kickstarters we think look cool and interesting for the week of January 11th, 2021.
A classic Martin Wallace designed game is coming back with a new edition from Alley Cat Games. This is Tinner's Trail, and it is all about mining copper and tin in the 19th century. And the Tinner's Trail is where you would take a path from your home to the mine. All players are trying to build and establish mines and then get copper and ore from them and sell them off in order to get the most money. This is primarily kind of an auction game. On your turn, you will have multiple actions you can choose from, and one of those will be to purchase a new plot of land. And when you do, other players have the opportunity to bid on it and try to outbid you. And if you do get it, you can then build a mine on it. You can improve it by adding like miners, for instance, or maybe a train or something else that will help increase the output of that area. And each round, the amount that the two resources are worth is going to change. It varies depending on a dice roll at the start of the round. And so it's going to be different each round which ones you want to try to go for. This also has a system wherein you have a certain amount of actions. Each action costs a different amount of action points, say, and there's a little track that shows you how far to the end you are, and once you get to the end of it, you're forced to pass for the round. So you have to be careful about what you're doing and how you're doing it and what you need to focus on in order to optimize your play. This is definitely a classical kind of Euro game. The original one came out in 2008. Never played it myself, but having looked at pictures of it, I can see that it really, really is going to benefit from this new art style and new look that they've added, because the old one looked very, I'm just going to say it looked not good. It was very, like a very dry, not even just dry, just like kind of bad. This one looks really beautiful, has all new art, new components. They have updated the rules supposedly to decrease some of the luck that was in the original game. They have new cards that allow you to like peek at some of the things you're going to buy during an auction, for instance, to get kind of an advantage. There are also two new expansions, kind of like mini expansions that come in the box with this, as well as a solo mode. So some pretty cool new stuff. You know, it doesn't sound like, it's not the most exciting theme. It's kind of that marketplace auction game with some tile placement and things like that mixed in, but they put a nice coat of paint on it. So I am curious to see what it's all about. It looks like they've updated it in a good way.
That's one of the great things with Kickstarter, because the truth is we eat with our eyes first, and that's including being attracted to board games. So the older version, I have not seen these pictures, but I trust you in that if we were walking around a convention, you saw it, you might not be attracted to the table. But now giving it that extra look, and because it's on Kickstarter, you can gauge people's interest in it and probably will do very well. You know, you can actually you don't have to worry about that your game is being ignored, even if it has great mechanics. And it's nice that they also add those extra little bit of rules to remove the luck, and also the solo mode, because they are more things that we'd like to see in board games.
Yeah, so it looks like this one was one worth bringing back and giving it a fresh new look and a new take on it. If you're interested, you can check out the Kickstarter page. It starts at $45, and there are different tiers for some extra goodies maybe that you want to add on. Take a look at Tinner's Trail.
Our next Kickstarter actually came out last week, but we don't want you to miss out on it, and that's Darwin's Journey. This is based on the expedition Darwin did in the Galapagos Islands, in which you and other players will be sailing your ships, dropping off explorers at the islands in order to, well, explore, set up base camps, and along the way, you're going to find new animals, different like fossils, and you're going to do different things in order to try to score points, getting different colors, putting them in a matching grid, sending them back in order to gain some prestige that way. So this is one of those point salad games that's all about finding out where to spend your resources, how to move different people in different places. When is the right time to really focus on one island, maybe try to get ahead of everyone to another island. And of course, with that theme, all about discovering evolution, the meaning behind it, and also why do finches have so many weird beaks.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that one out. Did Darwin ever figure it out? I don't know. I never read his book.
I think somewhere in there, I'll have to go check on the cliff notes. Something to do with, I don't know, let's just say victory points. That's usually what everything comes down to.
Okay, I
But
believe that.
the game itself looks like it has this really fun, because it's not simply the one piece you're moving the ship. Because each island, you drop some of your people there and almost you get extra little boards. And in turn, when they collect things, you move them onto other little parts. And it's sort of this weird set collecting, but I feel like it's a point salad way of like multiple different ways and the score and decide when to score them. And, and plus the theme itself is something that I'm always very interested in.
Yeah, Darwin is going to be the new Cthulhu, I think. I think we have a new wave of Darwin games upon us after Darwin's Choice and the Robinson Crusoe Voyage of the Beagle expansion. Maybe there's a few more examples out there.
Does Evolution in Oceans count?
I would say no.
Okay.
I would say no. They have to be Darwin specific. But yeah, so this is from Thundergriff Games, who they do really good Kickstarter projects, and it looks beautiful. I also am interested in the theme. So yeah, I think this one looks like a solid bet. Probably the first real like big one, I think, of 2021 on Kickstarter.
There's a reason why we decided to talk about it, even though it came out last week. Now, if you want a copy of the game, you can go and get it at $55, but there is a collector's edition at $85. So if you really want all those premium components, don't miss out on that. And see if you want to join Darwin on his journey.
My next pick is called Alba from Inside the Box Board Games, and this is an open world adventure book. This is actually the first in what they are hoping to be a series of these open world adventure books. This one is a post-apocalypse setting where you're emerging into a new world. You don't know what's going on. You have to explore and make discoveries about what's changed since you've last been outside. And it is a game book. It's not too dissimilar from a choose-your-own-adventure style book from back in the day, wherein you will read some passages, and then you will be asked to make a choice. And depending on what decision you make, you turn to a new page, and you will find out what the result of that was. This one takes it up a notch, gamifies it a little bit more. You will also have a character sheet as well as a map, and as you progress, you're going to be placing stickers depending on what choices you make and where you decide to go. And sometimes that may affect future decisions. It may affect what you find out. You're also, tracking your path throughout the world. You get to decide to some extent where you go and what you want to see and how you want to deal with it. They said there are 19 different endings, so there's, replayability here, and it's meant to be more than just your average choose your own adventure book, which is kind of just about the goofy choices you can make. There's more meat to this. It is meant to be more like a traditional novel, deeper passages, more interesting texts for you to read through. This whole thing is kind of just like catnip to me. Like this is my favorite type of thing these days. This kind of interactive experience that's very narrative focused, but is adding again this layer of game on top of it. Sounds really, really cool. Of course, it's replayable. You can reprint the sheets and everything like that and try to get different endings and what have you. But this is just my kind of thing. I'm really excited. My only question mark is what the writing will really be like, because the author, this is his first real published novel. He's worked on some other games and things before, but if that's up to snuff, I love the concept of it.
I'm a little confused. You said this is replayable, but aren't there stickers?
Well, you would just get different stickers. You just reprint the sheet.
Okay.
It's just you put the stickers on the map. You don't put them like in the book or something.
Okay, because in my mind I was thinking like this is going to be a legacy version of the usual choose your own adventure books that we've seen before.
No, it's no more. I mean, technically those are legacy too, because if you write in them, but you do not have to do that. You will be able to reprint everything that you need to play with. But I mean, it sounds awesome, right? This is cool.
No, I mean, we enjoy these kinds of things, and with these extra, as you said, gamification elements, I think it sounds really cool, and it's more than just, all right, turn to chapter 5.
Yeah, there's stuff going on. It's also cheap if you want the digital version. You can play this as an ebook, get all the stuff that you need for just $6, or you can go to softcover for $17. Pay a little extra if you want. There's like a special edition hardcover which has some extra stuff in it as well. And that digital one is going to be coming out soon. I think it's going to be available like March or April. You have to wait until later in the year for the physical copy if that's what you're looking for. It's called Alba.
Medium is a party game that we enjoy in which you are trying to play a card with a word on it while your neighbor does the same, and you try to say the exact same word that connects those two cards. So for example, if someone plays hero and someone else plays kitchen, hopefully the two people say something like sandwich. Unboxed Game sees the potential in this party game, but because we're all a little bit difficult to get together right now, they have decided to make a digital version of it. And that's what this Kickstarter is all about. This allows you to play either through Steam or on any of your phones while playing with friends or an actual solo mode. Now, playing with friends is what you'd expect. Each person needs to have a copy, and then you play the game trying to guess the words, and it'll keep track of the points to see who is the best medium. The solo mode is interesting. From what I can tell, the best way I can put it is it's like Family Feud. You're going to be given a word, the pairing of words, you're going to play one, and then you're going to type something in, and it actually will rank it, like tell you if it's how strong it is and give you points, or you could just break the crystal ball and you're out. So the fact that they came up with a way to make a solo version of this is very impressive. Also considering that it's also a game that one person can't have in pass and play. It sounds like it's got to be each person owns a copy. Still, it's not going to be as expensive. In fact, probably getting 4 people, I have to recalculate. I didn't think about this till now. Still probably is cheaper than buying the actual physical copy of the game. And considering you can actually, play digitally, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I really like the idea of the solo mode. I also think a game like this is usually perfect for digital because they could update those word lists and add new words all the time, and that's a big part of it. I will say though, watching the video for this one, watching the person like type in the word to guess, it's just not the same. And I know it's the best you can do for a digital version, but it's just not the same as, being in person and both trying to shout it at the same time. I just don't think it's going to quite recapture that magic, but I don't know how you could, unfortunately, but so there's that for me.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. There will always be, certain things you can only do in person, but having this option available to you, I always think is usually a win for people to play whatever their situation, either whatever they prefer or maybe whatever their situation requires. And also, like I stated before, it's cheap. For either of the phone app versions, it's going to be $5. For Steam, it's $3 more at $8. Of course, there's some higher pledges, including getting the actual physical game itself.
From Paketo, we got a new game in the Mint series of games, Mint Bid. It is an auction game in which you are bidding on different locations using your little mint pieces, and you're trying to get the most points based on how many of them you're able to receive. But there are some very cool twists on this auction game that I'm really intrigued by. First of all, it's heavily dependent on the players to your left and your right. So if you desire, you can go in and bid on something with the person to your left or right. For instance, if the person to your right is bidding 3 and maybe you want to bid 2 to make it 5, you could say, oh, our total bid is 5. We're bidding on this together. Or maybe the person to your right says, hold on, I'll put in 4 and you only have to put in 1 if you go in on it with me instead. And the reason that's important is because the cards that you win are kept between the two of you, and all the cards to your immediate left or right count as being under your control. You also have the option to do a closed bid. Whoever's the auctioneer gets to decide which one you do, in which case everybody puts out your hands simultaneously and you reveal your bids in that style. So a couple different ways to go about it, and depending on which locations you get, they have different types. At the end of the game, you'll get different kinds of bonuses for which ones, if you have the most of any of those certain types. You'll also get points depending on the numbers on them and based on a die roll system. So sort of like a Machikoro type thing. A die will be rolled, and if your locations have a 3 on it, then you get points for all the 3s you have. So that also is going to influence which locations you want. I thought that was an interesting idea. I really like bidding in general as a mechanic, and I also really like when it's especially like distilled into these kinds of simple, quick experiences, and being able to, form temporary alliances with people and then like, do I want to bid with them or bid with that person? Really cool idea. I hadn't heard about anything like that in a bidding game before. I think this will be a really fun, quick party style game, a good filler game, appropriate for the, the size of the packaging.
It's a little bit slow, but I think we're starting to see a bit more of a trend of like sharing resources and actually really mattering about left and right with players. We've seen a couple drafting games where you draft a card, you give things to the people left or right or something like Seven Wonders, which is one of the earliest ones I can think of where it's really like, I can get resources depending on who's on my left or right, or I get to attack you, something like that. And I enjoy that because it means, one, sitting at the table matters a little bit. So you can make things balanced or funny to be like, you're like, oh no, I'm sitting next to Will. Oh God. Well,
yeah,
things like that. And then which means it's more interesting when you're like, okay, I know he's the more aggressive player, and since he's not next to me, I can maybe be a little bit safer, or maybe I have to build up more defensive, and it sort of actually helps you build a strategy. I mean, There's no attacking in this and stuff, but it is. No. I would love to see some of the arguments, though. I feel like an argument would be like, "Can you put in one more?" No, you put in more.
Right. Yeah. No, it's really interesting stuff, and you can get it for just $10. Mint bid for $10. Go take a look if that sounds good to you.
Kibbles' Compendium of Craft and Creation is a 5e supplement book designed for all those people out there who love to tinker a bit and are hoping to do so in your D&D 5th edition campaigns. This book not only includes a huge crafting system, whether it be through alchemy or blacksmithing, pretty much, combining different resources to make cooler new things, but it's also got some subclasses as well as 2 full new classes. We have a fleshed out Scion class. I know that's one that a lot of people always love to bring in. I think it was a D&D like Unearthed Arcana, but nothing official yet, as well as the Inventor, or as they like to call it, the Kibbles Artificer. The Scion is what you expect. It's all about doing stuff with your mind. Now, the Inventor, as they like to call it, the Kibbles Artificer, apparently is based on an older edition of the Artificer. Of course, we've just seen a new one in the most recent book for D&D, but this one seems to be based on older rules, and I think it looks like it has a little bit of smaller stuff. Though, for me personally, the big thing, obviously, is the crafting stuff. Jonathan can attest to how many times I bring that up in our campaign, so much so I finally convinced him to be able to make a really awesome sword as well as a really fantastic cloak that helps with poison.
I didn't do anything. You just found the place where you could do that. I have no part in it. The game speaks for itself. Yeah, it's cool to have all those options, different crafting things. It's not my bag as much. I'm not as much of a crafty crafter, but this does sound like a pretty cool collection of a lot of new additions to the 5e rule set.
What's nice, though, to have a book about this for both the players. Obviously, I want to make all this cool stuff. But I think for like Jonathan as the GM, is he can drop like, you found black lily flowers or something, which don't really do anything by themselves. But like if someone's an alchemist, like, oh, if we can get this, I can make like a really strong poison for the arrows or something. And you can sort of get people excited about collecting things. And it being in a book, you don't have to try to make up stuff. You're like, all right, here's my table. This is what I need to worry about. And as we've stated with almost everything that is a supplement for role-playing, it's sort of nice just to have something already laid out for you so you don't have to make something up on the spot or look it up.
Yeah.
So once again, like anything in the role-playing world, you can get a PDF or some of the books. If you're looking for the PDF, it's $10. They actually have some separate pledge levels depending on if you're just looking for maybe a class book. But if you want some nice hardcover book with everything in it, that will start at $50.
2 additional projects we will draw your attention to. We have full video previews for them up elsewhere on our channel right now. The first is Masters of Mutanite, which is a deck building game all about people with mutant powers. You're moving around a board and you're throwing objects at each other, trying to take out all of your opponent's total life. And then there's Snack Attack, which is a smaller card game where your cute little dinosaur is trying to get the most snacks by playing snacks onto plates and then taking them when the time is right. Two different games, two different audiences, and different types of skill sets required. So take a look at both of those, get full details. There's, the year kind of started off slow. We had a lull, but we're slowly ramping back up with the Kickstarters. People are starting to put up some cooler and cooler ones, I think. We're getting back into that mode.
Since this is the first Kickstarter, Pickstarter of the year, what I would like to hear is what Kickstarters you're excited for this year. Maybe there's some things that have been announced that should be releasing this year. Of course, we never know. And maybe you can let us know so we can hopefully in advance pick them out as our own Kickstarter, Pickstarters later on in the year.
There you go. Let us know in the comments down below. My name is Jonathan.
I'm Will.
This was Roll for Crit.
Catch the latest from Roll for Crit by liking and subscribing, and don't forget to support us on Patreon.
Don't get analysis paralysis. Just click those buttons. Help us out.